So welcome back to the People State. It's episode 5. I'm Yogi. I got my man Beat Rich in here with me. We didn't told Jack just go ahead and move on, bro. We running this now. Holla at you, bro. Um, Today's episode we're gonna talk about vices, man. Like what does that mean? Like um, that can mean a lot to a lot of different people, depending on situations and circumstances. When you think vices, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Normally uh, alcohol or some sort of drug, right? That's the first advice. Not even, you know, why people would use a vice. It's automatically alcohol or drugs. Like that's it. So that's normally the first thing I think of. Um, some people might use violence. Some people might use other extracurricular activities.
That's an interesting take. That's a hot take, to be honest. That's something I didn't really think about, but there are people out there that is their forte. Um, and we've seen this happen time and time again. Uh, I never thought he was like that. It's something that people say when they find out, like, oh, that was his bag. You know what I mean? I think vices. I think a bunch of different things. I think of my own vices, like cigarettes is a big vice for me. Like that's how I keep calm in situations that make me stressful. Um, but like you said, drugs, alcohol, that those are normally the go tos, the big ones. Um, how do you think people use these vices to escape or to balance, so to speak? Like, what's the purpose?
So, it's probably like I don't know. It's probably like half and half. Like I would think it would be either to escape, the current situation or, uh, whatever they're feeling at the time, or, some people might, uh, it might be a routine thing for them. It's like okay, every day, when I get off work, go get me a beer and have me a cigarette, and that's when I'm gonna unwind and relax, or I'm gonna get that glass of wine to unwind and relax. But
Nah, I feel that. I feel that. A comfort thing, kind of, where
mhm,
you're not really you don't feel like you're dependent. It's just that's that's who you are. That's how you get down. That what
mhm,
makes it go.
right.
Um, when I think of vices, I think people in like dire straits. I also think of while we're talking, when I think vices, I think of all those people with like the gambling addictions, and you know what I mean. Like they just can't help doing what they do. Like you willing to bet the house for the farm, but the farm empty. You know what I mean? Like, cause
Yeah.
that's like that's the only way you know how to connect. Um,
Or cope with that stress that you have at the time. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and building on that, there's device dependency,
Hmm.
and not necessarily on a drug or sometimes people's vices is dependency on a person.
Hmm.
Like, have you ever seen that, or you know what I mean? You got something you could.
No, I no, I never heard that angle before. Depending on a vice as a person, no. Um, I guess you can. I guess you can consider that as a vice. Having to having to depend on somebody to help you escape that current mood. Yeah. I guess you can kind of lump that up with the sexual activity, using people as vices, because I think that's what that would fall under. Uh, you got this person that you go see, or that you involved with, or it could be a side piece, it could be a main piece, it could be somebody that you just have a mutual understanding that, hey, I'm stressed out, I'm about to come through, be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I can definitely see that for sure.
Yeah, facts.
I should have
Um,
been using them type of vices. Cause I ain't even think about that, man. I should have been doing that, working off that stress like that. Good workout.
I only brought it up because I knew a shorty that was like in a mad abusive relationship, right? And like, I mean, he would be trying to take her head off, and she was the type of chick to be like, "I fell." When the police came, like I fell. Like, but dude, just like he two-pieced and biscuit you, but he make the money. Like he's the provider, so she's willing to forego her own safety for comfort. You know what I mean? And to me, that's gotta be a vice, right? Like
Mm,
when you walk away from something when you should walk away from something that you know is detrimental, but you don't because you feel like you can't succeed without it, right? Like,
I mean, like that definition that you just said is like uh similar, but I would probably, I don't know, staying through an abusive relationship because you depended on that person to provide. Because I mean, it all goes advice. Like, it's hard to say, like, because the norm, people would think that would be that they would use advice to get away from that situation, or that, like, I don't want to get beat no more. Let me go run over my girlfriend's and you know take a couple drinks real quick to calm down. Like, but not necessarily staying. I would. I mean, that's I don't know. That's a tricky slope to because listening to your definition, it would sound like that would fit the bill, but I don't I don't think that particular situation. Advice, no. Like, I be thinking like, all right, I was upset at work today, and the job been kicking my butt, or my boss been down my throat because we didn't finish on the timeline or something like that, or you could get a new boss and he just stressing you out so much, so much, so much. I'm about to go to the gym to go work out. I ain't gonna cuss him out. I'm gonna do all my cussing out in the gym while I'm lifting these weights. Like, I would think that would be more of a definition of advice. Using weights to help you get rid of your anger. Like any other way, you just gonna be angry unless you lifting weights. Like, that's your way of blowing off steam. Like, that would be advice. Uh, that's a big one with a lot of people that I know, but not necessarily. I don't know. I guess you could take it as a good and bad because you might be losing weight or getting buff, but depending on if you roid raging, or you mad all the time and stuff like that, that might not that might be hurtful for your cause.
that's facts. That's facts. Um, and now I only brought it up just because when I was thinking about this, like I was asking other people, and somebody had kind of threw that at me, and I was like, I don't know if it really fit, but like, what do you say to those people? You know what I mean? Like, who feel like they ain't got nowhere to go, so that's like all they know. So they cling to something that they know is killing them. Because most vices, like when you think of a vice already, it's already something that ain't good for you. You know what I mean? So like that's a dicey category. Like, how do you really quantify? So I was just curious. I just wanted to kind of hear your opinion on the situation. Um, I think the biggest vice that I see now in today's culture is attention, clout, fame, or infamy, or notoriety for all the wrong reasons. Like I see a lot of these Instagrammers and these YouTubers and all these people that are trying to make money and they're doing it by doing the most ignorant things you could think of. I don't know what to do with what I'm seeing. Like, I mean, we had a whole culture of kids that was eating Tide Pods. You know what I mean? Like, I just seen something in the news, like not to be funny or try to belittle the situation, but I just seen something in the news that it was like a black kid in Colorado that died on a hold your breath challenge. Like, we doing this for TikTok fame. We doing this for Instagram fame. We doing this for Facebook fame. Like, what's your take on that? Do you think that's like a relevant part of the culture that no one's talking about, or do you think like it's all a fad?
I think it's a staple in the culture nowadays. Um, it's like like we're gonna use like the challenges and stuff like that that we see on social media. You know, one person makes it and then everybody runs with it, but everybody is still, like you saying, looking for that attention. Uh, you know, Instagram models, male and female, you know, taking their photos and stuff like that and put them on there. I know people that I know people that have Instagram just to get those people to like their pictures so they can feel better about themselves. Um, and they get upset if they don't get a certain number of likes or a certain number of views and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely a staple in today's culture, and a lot of people use that to and a lot of excuse me, a lot of people use that to base their decisions on how they move also. And you know, I mean, I feel like as long as you're doing something positive, I don't really mind it. Uh, but if you getting down that dark path where you constantly need and craving attention, you know, it's gonna get to a point where you're gonna be doing some stuff that you don't normally do, you know, for that same attention that you was getting taking these pictures and stuff like that. It always starts out small and stuff like that. Like people can't cope with all this stuff. People losing their jobs. They haven't been to work in years, so they don't know where the money coming from. They depending on these checks and stuff like that. That turns people to have different daily vices and stuff like that. Or I don't think nothing's gonna go back to any. I don't think nothing's gonna go back to how it used to be. We just gotta uh we just gotta adapt. It's more about adapting. Um, the better you can adapt, the easier I think everything will be moving forward. Hopefully, people can cope with everything without having to reach for something to help them get through the day or get through the week. But it's definitely a different turn for sure.
Nah, that's facts. And I do think the pandemic and people not being outside, people not really able to be able to do like their normal activities, what feels normal, I think it's contributing to a different level of vice where like now people are more dependent because everything's been so shaken up that what used to feel normal isn't normal, what is normal can't be normal. Like we can't even go outside for real yet. Like, you think that makes people more dependent on whatever vice it is that they're currently using to get by, or do you think it's just like a temporary thing?
No, just think. I mean, it's been a year. It's been a year, and the first what 4 or 5 months you couldn't even come out your house really unless you was going to get food. Think about when we first got sent home. You know what I'm saying? It was damn near martial law. Well, you know what civilian people's idea of martial law is. You didn't have nothing to do. Like we was looking at the same four walls, or the same people that you live with all day, every day. You couldn't go outside to get away because you don't know. At that time, we didn't know how the virus was going to be. We didn't know if it was airborne. We had to, if you can get it from touching anything. So you had to stay in the house. And I know people picked up vices here and there, or they vice then got expounded upon. Being at home, like people might have, you know, branched out and had different types of liquor that they didn't have, or people might have started reading books that they didn't think that they was going to read. If reading is your vice, you might start reading different categories and stuff like that. I picked up a guitar. Music music is one of my vices. And I always wanted to play music, but I'm very in tune with like the music scene, older music and stuff like that. So I was like, well, now it's the time to pick up something new, and I got into it. And, that's my getaway on a stressful day, or kids getting on my nerves or something like that. I go play my guitar. It may not sound good just yet, but hey, it relaxes me. It brings me back down to earth. It brings me back down to earth. So yeah, that whole little time period, man, like that could have been uh, make or break almost, for certain people. Uh, if they have some negative vices, it definitely could have been a struggle.
Oh, absolutely. Um, when COVID first hit, my job deemed us essential, which I still don't even know how they pulled that off, but that's neither here nor there. But I think me personally with COVID, I think I used work as a vice because it was my only getaway. It was my only way to get out the crib. Like I was more than happy after a while to just be able to leave the house. Like,
Mhm.
oh, y'all want some overtime? Like I'm signing up. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm working harder than I've ever worked just because I don't want to sit at home all day. Like, because I know if I sit at home all day, I'm really gonna get into some trouble. Like my real vices is gonna start to show. Like, so, and now that's just me personally. Now, and I know everybody goes through things differently. But yeah, being stuck at home, I can't even imagine. Like, I can't imagine. And I'm not even gonna try to put out some parable that ain't gonna make sense because it ain't gonna make sense. I don't know what I would have did. But for the people that had to go through that, and you have to fight what your demons are, if your vices are your demons, like, what do you think that looks like?
Not pretty, man. You sitting at home, you know, with let's just I mean, we don't know if, you can either be with somebody or you can be single and not be with nobody. Being with somebody, they could miss whatever negativity that you got going on, and they can just, let you wallow in your sorrow or whatever you're going through at the time, and they're not paying attention. Or if you by yourself and nobody's looking at you, nobody's going to be able to stop you from doing anything. So you just really at the mercy of yourself. And at that point in time, you don't care. Hey, this is making me feel good. I'm keep going because I don't even feel like it right now. You know, ain't nobody here. Fuck it. Who cares, right? That's definitely not a good situation to be in. You know, that's a lot. That's probably not a lot. of how people hurt themselves, or uh, end up in worse situations than they are, not having nobody to talk to, or not having nobody to maybe stop you if you're going too far or anything like that. Just- Even just having somebody to talk to could be advice. We can go back to how you were saying, you can use people as vices. You can have somebody that you talk to all the time that you can pour your troubles to, you know, that could be advice, because if they're not there, it's like, oh, what do I do now? That could just make everything even worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and I say that just because I think about a lot of times people's vices aren't necessarily a bad thing, but they become a bad thing when left unchecked. You know what I mean? So you're at home, whether you by yourself or just with your family, or but you don't have that social interaction. Like, what could be something so simple as, let's just throw out a random example, like cigarettes. Like, but you go to work every day and you're on a structured schedule, right? But now you're home all the time. You used to smoke half a pack a day. Now you're smoking a pack and a half a day just because you won't have anything to do. So your vice, like, it
Hmm.
amplifies. And we're living in a time now where we still don't know if the world's gonna be open this year. Like we're hoping, right? Like we're hoping that everybody can go outside this summer. But
Are we hoping?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there for the sake of the
Hey, I
argument.
can FYI, I mean, I can sit down another summer if that means that we're gonna be done with it. I'm just saying.
No, and I
I,
100%
to
agree
be
with you.
done with it, I would sit down another summer than have to keep going like this, man. Because
I agree.
at this stage, like, people don't even care about what the rules are. And once we let people start moving, like, it was no coming back from that. But
Yeah, but that's another vice. We got the Karens out here that won't put a mask on. You know what I mean? They just like want to walk around free. They feel like their rights is being infringed on because we asking you to wear a mask if you want to go outside. Like, I don't know how that's not a vice, to hang on to something that you don't even know for sure if you saying the right thing or doing the right thing, but you want to do it anyway just for the sake of doing it. Like, that's a whole nother argument. You think this looks like if people have to continue the way we're going right now? Do you think it? Do you think people have been alone enough with themselves to control their vices, or do you think, if, like you said, if we sat down another summer, could people be trusted to handle themselves without the vices?
I don't know, because I mean, that's personal. Like, we didn't sat down for a whole year. If you ain't got it at this point, ain't another year ain't gonna make no difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have you either gotta recognize it, because like you say, it's your smoking uptake went up, right? And I feel you on that. I can see how that happens. I used to smoke, and it was at a point where my smoking was on a schedule, and if that schedule was hinged at any point, I had to make up for that, right?
Right.
So, being in a different environment that you're not used to have them, daily reminders, is just gonna make you do it more. Got sent to Iraq. Well, I ain't gonna say that because obviously I was smoking more there. We went to the field, right? We had to go to the field for 2 weeks, and actually we had to go to Fort Bragg for a month, and we were just out there in the field, and I noticed that I was smoking more and more and more because we was just out in the middle of nowhere. But when we had came back, it went back to my to my normal schedule. So I definitely see how that uh, can increase, but that too much of one thing can definitely be negative, you know, whether it's negative or positive at that time, because like working out could be a good vice, but if you work out too much, you can hurt yourself. You can pull a muscle, you can cause damage to your body structure. You know what I'm saying? Like you can cause real damage to yourself. So you just gotta be able to pace yourself. You gotta be able to, you know, be self-aware. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta be able to notice that you starting to, pick up on this particular thing a little bit more so you can catch yourself, or maybe, when that triggers, you can probably do something else, or don't let that thing trigger you to where you have to go to that vice, if that makes any sense.
Nah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And that was another thing I wanted to touch on is 90% of most people's vices are a result of some sort of trigger. You know what I mean? So, like you said, a bad day at work, an argument with the old lady, your kids acting up. You know what I mean? Things just not going your way, and and then you just automatically fall back into that convenient moment that seems to make everything better. And like you said, those can be good and bad, and too much of either is never a good thing. Like you can't have all positive and no negative, or one negative will throw you off into a tailspin, and it can't. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa.
Hmm.
So I think the point I want to make is that with all of our vices, whatever they might be, like you gotta focus on the triggers, right? Like and identifying and being able to recognize that this is what puts me on that path, or this is what makes me feel like I need to do that. Um, any advice for the people on, you know, how to deal with that, or how to recognize, or what do you do when now you realize the vice is a dependency? Like, how do you get away from it?
Hmm. I I would try to minimize. I would try to minimize the triggers, right? I would try to not let things trigger me as much. If I know what triggers me to make me go to my vice, what can I do to avoid that beforehand? Is there anything that I can do ahead of time that's going to make sure that that don't happen? What can I do when that happens as an alternative? You know, uh,
No, I like
it's
that.
a it's a sit down self reflect thing. You would have to sit there, and that's what I would think about. If I know it's like I'm smoking too much. All right, what can I do to stop smoking as much? What can I substitute the smoke with something else? Uh, you know, do I have to smoke? Where am I at? That's gonna, am I in a certain place that's gonna cause these triggers to happen all the time? Because if I'm in that certain place, all right, let me remove the cigarettes from that place, so I don't have to, worry about trying to do that. It's a number of things um, like that you could probably start out with. A big thing is talking about it. Talk to somebody and let them know. I notice I'm starting to pick up on this more and more and more. Maybe get their insight. Maybe they see something that you ain't noticed, and maybe you can use that to your advantage as far as not picking up those vices, or avoiding the situation that caused the vices. But communication definitely for sure. Uh, whether it's a friend, a family member that you can confide in, preacher, boss, talk to somebody.
For sure.
Talking helps for sure, man. You can't hold a lot of that stuff in. You gotta be able to speak it out, and get it off your chest and be able to move on.
I think as you say that, that's like my biggest vice is I eat everything. Like I don't like exactly everything you're saying. I'm shaking my head and I'm like I need to do all of that right now. But like it's just who I am as a person. Like I don't
Yeah,
like I just eat it, and then that eats at me, and then that leads me to the vice. You know what I mean?
for
Like
sure,
because
for
I
sure.
don't
Because
express
it
it. I
just keeps
don't.
stacking on top of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like you just eat problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. And because I know exactly what you're saying. Because it be times where 10 things that happen that day, and I'm just all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. But then those 10 things is racing through my head, and it's like, man, all right, I'm about to go. I'm about to go do this. Man, fuck that. I'm about to go do this, right?
Right.
Same boat. Same boat. Don't nobody about it. Because I don't talk to nobody about it because at that point I didn't have so much stuff that I hadn't said to nobody. I feel like if I do talk to somebody, I'm gonna be talking too much because I'm gonna just overload them with so much stuff, and we can't do that either.